Thank you for downloading this episode of Folk on Foot. Before we start, I just wanted to share a brief message. If you like what we do, we really need your support to keep going. You can join our wonderful band of members and you'll get great rewards. These include access to our amazing Folk on Foot on Film archive of hundreds of songs shot on location on our travels around the UK and Ireland. To sign up, just go to folkonfoot.com/supportus. You'll also get an ad-free version of all our episodes and an email postcard from me each time we go on a walk. If you just want the ad-free version, it'll cost you £3 a month, and you can get it through your Apple Podcast app or at folkonfoot.com/supportus. Finally, if you don't want to make a regular commitment but do want to show how much you love us, you can simply buy us a coffee. You can also do that at folkonfoot.com/supportus. Every penny we get goes back into making more episodes of Folk on Foot. So thank you and enjoy the walk. We've been to all sorts of parts of the United Kingdom on Folk on Foot, but I'm really sad to say we've never been to Norfolk before. But we are now here in Norfolk on that wonderful coast, and we're going to meet the fiddle player and singer Georgia Shackleton, who hails from this part of the world, and she's going to take us for a walk by the sea. Well, Georgia, good morning. It's absolutely beautiful this morning. Thank you for bringing this amazing weather.
Oh, any time, I do my best.
Where are we?
We are at Sea Palling. This is one of my favourite stretches of the Norfolk coast. I come here quite a lot. I come swimming just down in the little bay ahead of us.
And we just climbed up this wooden walkway and come over the top and had the first sight of the sea, which always just lifts your heart, doesn't it? Lifts your spirit when you see the sea.
For sure, I completely agree. I think I'd really struggle to live anywhere that wasn't so close to the sea.
And where are you going to take us on this walk?
Well, we're going to have a little walk along the beach at Sea Palling up towards Eccles and Cart Gap, and we'll sort of head just behind the sand dunes a little bit, and then we're going to make our way up to Happisburgh, which is, it's not far up the coast at all, but it's got such a different feel to here. It's polar opposite.
And people who don't know Norfolk say Happisburgh, don't they?
That's right.
And the locals ignore them, presumably.
Yeah, you'll soon be put right.
Let's walk down to the beach.
Let's go.
You've got one fiddle and I'm carrying the other.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know if it's too irritating. And we'll
No, it's
swap.
fine, it's fine. And I'm hoping you're going to play them along the way.
I suppose I probably will. You're welcome to as well.
Oh, that would be very upsetting for everybody. So big flight of steps to go down.
So yeah, we're going to head down this way.
Uh-huh.
This will take us up to Happisburgh.
So we're actually walking on the sand now, which is amazing. Is this your home territory? Have you born and brought up round here?
Yeah, not far. I was brought up in the Fens, so further inland, in a village called Upwell, which is, right in the middle of the Fens, not too far from King's Lynn, down on Market Wisbeach. If we were going to the coast when I was a kid, we would go further up North Coast, up to Hunstanton. Now I'm based in Norwich. This is sort of one of my regular spots and regular walks. I love it.
And is there a lot of traditional music from this area?
Well, Sam Larner, he was from Winterton.
He's a famous traditional singer, isn't he?
Yeah, really famous traditional singer from this region. So he's from Winterton, which is just down the way. Harry Cox as well. We pretty much drove past his house on the way here, actually. He was in Barton Turf for all of his life. Another lovely singer from this region.
So how did you find out about their music?
To be honest, it wasn't until So I moved up to Newcastle and I studied up there, went to university there. And before I went up there, the internet was still very new. You didn't really know where to look if you were new to folk music. I wasn't brought up from a folky background. I just knew that I liked it and enjoyed playing it. But it was when I went up there I was introduced to their music by my tutors and by my friends as well.
And so did you feel a connection because of the fact that they were from the area that you came from?
Yeah, definitely. But I think at that stage I wasn't actively looking to sing music from my region so much as I am now. I was more looking for singers whose voices I liked in general. And then I think it sort of took me a while to realise that I felt a real connection with Harry Cox in particular. And I've just always sort of put him on a bit of a pedestal as a singer. And I think it's just because in all the source recordings that you hear him singing, he just sounds like a really down-to-earth, nice, humble bloke.
What do we know about him?
Well, I was talking with a chap called Bruce Lindsay a while back who wrote a book, Two Bold Singermen and the English Folk Revival, which is about the lives of Sam Larner and Harry Cox. And he shed quite a lot of light, actually, with all of the people that he'd been speaking to and the research. Everything that he said about Harry Cox really kind of confirmed that he was just this really wonderful guy, and he was very humble, and he didn't really understand why people were taking an interest and why they wanted to hear him sing, and why do you want to ferry me off to London to go and play in the folk clubs? Why do you want to go and show me off? Sort of at the time of the folk revival in the 60s. And I think that attitude, it really comes across in the way he presents a song, and that's why I like him so much as a singer. There's no ego. He's just a vessel for the song, and I think you can really hear that in his singing in the way that he presents.
In fair London town a young damsel did dwell, her wit and her beauty none could excel. Her wit and her beauty none could excel, and her husband he was a bold drover,
And your album recently released is called Harry's Seagull.
Yeah.
Is that a story based on something about him?
Yeah, it is. It's a bit of a dedication to Harry, really, the album. When I was speaking to Bruce Lindsay, who wrote this book, one of the stories that he told me he'd learnt about Harry, which really touched me, was that Harry Cox kept a wounded seagull as a pet for a while and nursed it back to health. And yeah, I just thought that was lovely.
So you wrote a song about it?
I did a tune, yeah, I wrote a tune. I think that's the only self-penned piece actually on that album, so everything else was traditional, and that's the only thing I wrote.
You wouldn't feel like playing it for us, would you?
Yeah, I can do that.
What a wonderful thing to hear that just right on the water's edge here.
Yeah.
I hope the tide's not coming in, because otherwise you could have gone underwater. But thank you for playing that for us.
Yeah, no problem.
And it's just so appropriate, isn't it, to be playing it here on the beach? Have you ever played it here before?
I haven't, no. There were some, well, we were scared off the gulls actually. They were around at the beginning, but they've flown away now.
So what's the story of this bit of the coast now? Is it under attack? Is it eroding?
Sea Pauling is kind of doing okay. In the 50s there was a huge tidal surge which attacked Norfolk, and Sea Pauling was one of the most badly affected areas.
Well, I have to say that I have a personal connection to that, because
You do?
my father was doing his national service in the RAF, and he spent his national service shoring up the sea defences
Yeah.
in Norfolk in the 1950s.
Oh, amazing.
So somewhere around here, I think.
Yeah, so possibly where we're heading after that huge tidal surge, the wooden sea defences up at Happisburgh were built, so maybe that's what he was involved with, which are now all disintegrating, and there's a huge gap between where they are and where the sea defences here are, where we've got these big piles of rocks, which sort of aids the problem further up the coast, really, in that it kind of creates a big bay, and then the sea, where these big bays are sort of forming, they're a lot more vulnerable on those stretches where the defences don't meet.
And are people losing their homes?
Yeah, very sadly. So up at Happisburgh, where we're headed, that's one of the worst affected areas. Hemsby, a bit further along the coast, near Great Yarmouth, that's in real dire straits as well. And it's sort of the same issue where the defences aren't meeting, but then defences have been built further up the coast, which kind of makes the situation a lot worse for the communities in between. You'll see when we get to Happisburgh where the cliffs have started to crumble away. Climate change is making it so much worse and accelerating everything a lot quicker, and the money's just not there. Well, the money arguably is there, of course, but it's not being used to protect the coast. It's managed realignment, which is essentially just letting nature take its course.
And moving people back, presumably.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of anger about it?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Everyone's always working very, very hard, campaigning and petitioning, and there's so much red tape, I think, and it just feels like everyone's fighting a losing battle, I think.
It's so interesting to hear that sort of sad story, because it's such a beautiful place that we're in at the moment, and this arching beach going round with the yellow sand and the blue sky and the dunes to our left is so glorious, isn't it? There's so much space here.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you think about in Norfolk is the huge skies and the sense of space. Is that something that really appeals to you?
I think so. And I think a lot of the music that I write, whether or not I actually am aware of it at the time, it is inspired by our landscape and our big open skies in Norfolk.
Do you have a song that you could sing for us now?
I do, yeah. I'll sing you a song called The Band of Mothers, and that is a song that I wrote in honour of, well, it was back in 2016, and there was a huge whale that was washed up on the coast, much further along the coast at Hunstanton, and while there were efforts to try and save this whale and bring it back to the sea, but they failed. I think it was around Christmas time, so everyone of course was out for their Christmas walks and Boxing Day walks, and everyone was just going and treating this big whale like some sort of attraction, and were just going and poking it with sticks and taking photographs of it. It was horrific, and it was part of a pod of whales that had been, well, they should never have been in such shallow water along our coastline here, but whether it's they'd been driven here through being confused by boat signals, looking for food, they should never have been finding their way into the channel. And this one was washed up in Hunstanton, and then a little further along the coast up in Lincolnshire, I think a couple more, some more of this pod of whales, a kind of army of mothers, a collective motherhood basically, travelling with all of their young male whales who stay with them up to adulthood. And some were washed up across in Europe as well.
And why were they so far off course?
Well, probably through lack of food, also with climate change. The tides are so erratic and much more unpredictable now, I think, for sea creatures, and they get thrown off course by that, and of course just getting confused by shipping signals. Just so many man-made obstacles that are in their way and causing them to find their way into places.
And did they lose their lives? Did they die on the shore?
They did, they all died, yeah.
Well, that's so tragic.
It really is, isn't it? Well, yeah, so this is a cheerful little song for them. This is The Band of Mothers. Long time ago we used to roam wide open seas, our never-ending home. Last week I swam with my family, now I'm all alone. They're not supposed to be there, stranded on the sand. We've been boiled from oil and kept your lanterns lit. We've been smelted, we've been melted, well you never quit. We avoided nets and heavy harpoon jets. What next does mankind have in store? Oh, place your bets. Your ships they roar and they pierce the silent seas, disorientate my band of mothers, our young sons and me. Find ourselves in shallow water where we're never meant to be, torn apart and washed up in the Wash Den Haag and Germany. Stranded on the sand, dying mothers with their sons, photographed for Instagram. You might call me the lucky one, I'm travelling with the tide, but I travel all alone now.
It's a really powerful song, and I suppose it's a sign of the impact that these things have on you emotionally. Do you feel strongly about the natural world and the way in which life is changing?
Yeah. A lot of the songs that I write are of an environmental nature, and it's just a commentary really, isn't it? It's what's happening now, it's what's around us, and that's what folk music and folk song is and always has been.
I have to say that while you were playing and singing, two people went for a swim in the sea, which lasted for less time than the length of your song. I think it must be quite cold in there.
Pansies.
Let's walk on. I think we're going to go behind the dunes now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Hopefully, as long as I'm not taking us the wrong way. Yeah,
okay. So we've come through the dunes now and away from the sea a little bit. And I wanted to talk to you about a fascinating project that you've been involved in with a violin made from possessions of Ernest Shackleton, the explorer. Tell me more about this.
So, a chap named Steve Burnett up in Edinburgh, who's just the most wonderful man. He's a conservationist and he's a luthier. And I think it was maybe about 3 years ago now, I saw in the press that he had built this violin that was made using floorboards from Sir Ernest Shackleton's former home in Edinburgh. And Steve was walking past the house that he knew that Shackleton used to once live in, and it was being gutted to become sort of like an MJB inn or something. And he noticed that these floorboards were being thrown away in the skip, and he asked the people gutting it out, well, do you know what you're getting rid of here? And they weren't really too fussed, and they let him take these floorboards from Sir Ernest Shackleton's old home, and he'd been holding on to them for a while. And he also had some driftwood that he'd collected from East Lothian beaches that he had been meaning to use for a luthier project for a while, and he's built a trio of violins using this piece of driftwood. And the Shackleton violin, of course, incorporates the floorboards as well. So this amazing violin, and
So you were going Shackleton. Now, is Ernest Shackleton an ancestor of yours?
Yes, our connection with Sir Ernest Shackleton goes, well, back to the 1600s really. One brother of the family moved over to Ireland, and Shackleton was descended from that side of the family tree. And then the brother that stayed in Yorkshire, our side of the Shackleton family, was descended from that side. So that's where the connection is.
And for those who don't know, just tell us about Sir Ernest Shackleton, because he was a very intrepid and brave explorer, wasn't he?
Yeah, much like me. Look at us exploring through Eccles Caravan Park. Yeah. But yeah, well, he was involved in a number of expeditions. He, well, tried and failed many times to make it to the South Pole.
But the most famous thing was about him rescuing his fellow explorers when they got stranded, wasn't it?
Yes, this was on his endurance expedition, and the boat got stuck in the ice, and it seemed that all the men were doomed, and they were stuck out there for a very long time, for years. And Sir Ernest Shackleton managed to make it back with all 12 lives saved, and they had to, well, do all manner of horrible things like kill their beloved huskies for meat and to burn lots of items on the ship. But Shackleton wouldn't let. He loved music, so he wouldn't let any of the crew burn the banjo because it was vital mental medicine.
Right. So when you heard about this violin, I assume you felt you had to get in touch with the man who made it.
I did, of course. And when I first read about it, I just I was overexcited, and I didn't really sort of delve into Steve's story too much. I just felt like I had to get in contact with him. And I thought that it was so unlikely that he would have this instrument himself. I thought he would have built it as a commission or something, and this violin would belong to somebody. But I was absolutely delighted that when I got in contact with him, he told me why he'd built this instrument. He told me that he did still have it, and I just wanted to go and meet him and meet the instrument, and he was more than happy to organise a time when I was gigging up there that I could drop by, have a cup of tea, see his workshop, meet and play this instrument. And he turns out that he built it for a purpose, and being a conservationist, he feels very strongly, of course, about spreading the word in any way that he can, with kids, I think, as well, with primary school children and workshops, spreading the word about how anyone can do their bit. And this instrument he wants to be used as a voice from and for the sea.
Wow. So what was it like when you first took it into your hands?
It felt quite eerie. I don't know if I think I'm allowed to romanticise the whole thing, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
But yeah, it felt really, really special. It felt quite eerie, and it's a really bold instrument, and Shackleton was a very bold man. He was the boss, right? And this instrument just feels like a boss.
And it's got the names of some of the people who travelled with Shackleton engraved into it, hasn't it?
It does, yeah. Steve also describes it as a time capsule, and it's got all 12 names of the Endurance crew written inside, and it's also got a beautiful poem inside, oratory as well. So it's really, yeah, it's a very special instrument and a real work of art as well.
Did you compose some special music for it?
So I did, yes. After meeting Steve and meeting the violin and being absolutely delighted to realise what an absolute beast of an instrument it was, I got in contact with Steve again after saving a bit of money and securing some funding to go up there and spend some time having a little residency really with the violin and writing some music on it, which was such a special thing to do. And I wrote loads of songs and tunes on, which I'm sort of working my way through now and saving up the money to record them and trying to decide which ones I want to keep, which ones I want to let go, which ones I want to chop up.
Would you play one for us now?
Yeah, of course. I'll play you a tune called From the Floorboards, which is, I think the fiddle wrote the tune rather than me, really. It just sort of fell out immediately, and it's not a tune that I would have written on my own instrument. Yeah, so From the Floorboards.
That's fantastic. And when you play it on a different instrument, can you still feel the spirit of the Shackleton violin beneath your fingers?
I can. It's not quite the same, but yeah. It really feels like there's a connection with history and with Shackleton and his crew and what they were trying to do.
How does the instrument sound?
It sounds very woody but bright at the same time. It's really well balanced and it's got a really broad, woody, punchy tone to it.
And what does it look like?
Stunning. Really, really nice. It's quite unusual in that ordinarily the fingerboards of fiddles will be dark, but I think it's the driftwood off the top of my head that Steve has used for the fingerboard. So it's really, really bright, almost like the same colour as the bridge here, just this really lovely, bright, light wood. Well, the colour of driftwood.
And it's made from floorboards, so I had a picture in my mind of a rough grain. Is that true, or has he polished that away?
It's polished away, but you can still tell. And you would think that an instrument built using floorboards isn't necessarily going to sound that nice, but it's beautiful and it's a really unique instrument and a real pleasure to play.
And do you feel connected to Ernest Shackleton when you play it?
Yeah, for sure. I got quite emotional the first time I played it. It felt like a real honour, and you know, you're playing on an instrument that is built using something that he would have walked upon, that is a piece of history, but also a connection to your own roots and your own family. It felt very special, a real honour.
So then you got so deeply into this that you went to visit a ship that was associated with Ernest Shackleton. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. In Dundee, they have the Discovery, which, well, Shackleton went on his first expedition, I believe it was, back in 1902. And the Discovery, that the boat is moored there. It's moored there at the harbour. And I got in contact with the Discovery Museum and asked, is there any chance that I could, well, first to see if I could borrow Steve's violin and come and play it on the boat. So I did that back when I first borrowed the instrument, and it was really special. I went and played there in the mess quarters and got to see Shackleton's little cabin, his office space, and I tell you what, that instrument really sounded very at home on that boat. It really came to life there and it was very special.
That's amazing. And did you feel emotional about it?
It felt like it was quite a sense of overwhelm. I was just grinning from ear to ear, I think, really, rather than feeling emotional. I just felt really good.
And did it inspire you to create more music?
Yeah, I did go back after playing it on the boat, and it was in the evening, I think, that I got back to where I was staying, and I did just then sit and spend a lot more time with the instrument and write some more stuff on it and just enjoy playing it, really.
And did words come as well as tunes?
Yeah, so when I went to play it on the Discovery Museum, they got in contact with some press because it was quite an unusual thing, a Shackleton playing the Shackleton violin on Shackleton's boat.
Yeah.
And then after that, an email dropped into my inbox from a chap named Ian Morrison. And Ian is the grandson of the chief engineer, John Morrison, who was the chief engineer on the morning relief vessel, which would come and deliver food and aid to the Discovery mission. And Shackleton grew ill on that expedition, and he had to be carted off by the morning relief vessel. So it turns out that Shackleton and John Morrison absolutely got on like a house on fire, apparently, on this morning expedition, and they wrote lots of songs. They wrote songs together, and Shackleton even wrote a song about his mate, about John Morrison.
Shackleton wrote a song about John Morrison?
He did, yeah.
You're joking?
No.
I mean, you're now telling, this is all falling into your lap, isn't it? You wouldn't care to sing the song, would you? Do you know the song?
Yeah, yes, of course.
Tell us about it then.
Well, it was written by Shackleton for John Morrison, and all of these men on the morning expedition and Discovery as well, all of these expeditions, I think there was a real sense of pride in what they were doing, and they all got on like a house on fire. And this is a song that Shackleton wrote to celebrate two of his favourite members of the crew, and I think that it really sort of shows the camaraderie between the men. And you'll hear the names McHenry and McMush. So I don't know where McMush came from, which refers to Davison, one of the men on board, but McHenry is just machinery, nickname for the chief engineer, for John McHenry. We are two mighty men, McHenry and McMush, hail from Scottish Glen, devoid of guile or gush. Two minds with just one single thought will claim that our vocations will rule and roost in time to come, to quote anticipations. We're the engineer and the doctorman, we'll do and dare as a mighty clan, we'll melt our scrap, we'll mix our pills, construct machines, invent new ills. With pride we ask who is greater than the engineer and the doctorman. No calling will prevail, we'll wipe 'em out for keeps. Merchants we'll assail, shrewd lawyers, chimney sweeps, police and parsons, publicans, prime ministers of nations. All will fade away beneath our sway, you read anticipations. We're the engineer and the doctorman, we'll do and dare as a mighty clan, we'll melt our scrap, we'll mix our pills, construct machines, invent new ills. With pride we ask who is greater than the engineer and the doctorman. The future's surely bright, we're expert in our arts, surely men of might, but in our heart of hearts, our logical conclusion after serious contemplations, is simply that the big idea is just anticipations. We're the engineer and the doctorman, we'll do and dare as a mighty clan, we'll melt our scrap, we'll mix our pills, construct machines, invent new ills. With pride we ask who is greater than the engineer and the doctorman. With pride we ask who is greater than the engineer and the doctorman.
You really get a sense of the camaraderie and the pride that they felt in each other's company, don't you, from that song?
Yeah, I agree. That's why I love it so much. There was another lovely song which I hope to record as part of this project, which was written by Shackleton and by Morrison, The Ice King, and it's basically talking about the morning in the relief vessel and just how everyone on the Discovery would look forward to the morning coming in the springtime, and just how excited they'd all get about it. And they were excited about seeing their mates as well as getting their food and relief brought. Yeah, for sure, a sense of camaraderie.
And we're standing now on the cliffs looking towards the Happisburgh Lighthouse and the Happisburgh Church. And you can begin to see here, as the beach sweeps round, the erosion of the land, can't you?
You can. I think there's actually a bunch of guys down in high vis who are dealing with the most recent slide, it looks like. But yes, every time that you walk this stretch, you don't really know how different the coastline is going to be to, I don't know, the last 6 months ago or whatever when I last walked along here. It's a real shame.
So let's head for the lighthouse.
Let's do that.
Red and white striped. Well, we're just walking behind the sand dunes now, the sea's to our right, and we're going through an area of bungalows and cabins which look like some of them are full-time occupied and some of them perhaps are holiday homes. But what a great place to come and spend your time. Would you like to have a cabin here, Georgia?
Oh, I'd love it. I just love looking at them all whenever.
Well, there's one for sale here, you know.
I know, I don't think I could afford it, that's the problem.
Right next door to one called Dingley Dell.
Yeah, I love them, and I love that people clearly live in them full time still, and they may have even been kids back when the tidal surge hit in the early 50s, and they've stuck here all that time throughout seeing all that tragedy and such horror. Yeah, but we're quite
resilient.
We're quite resilient and stubborn, dare I say it, down here in Norfolk. I think that's just testament to how we are.
Well, there's a sort of wood-panelled one here with a little veranda with a shady nook that you could sit in and have a cup of tea and read a book or something like that. And then there's the pan-tile roofs on some of them that are very characteristic of this part of Norfolk, aren't they?
Yeah.
Some of them look rather more brick-built and rather more solid than others, which look like they're made of wood. But it's quite a community here.
Yeah, it really is. I find it fascinating, and I think there must be such a sense of people helping each other out in the winter, and because as you can see, lots of these sort of private roads are in dire need of a lot of work. It must be very easy to just sort of get stuck and isolated out here.
And also I assume that there must be a planning regulation that says you have to have a single-storey dwelling, because there's nothing over 1 story high.
Yeah, I think so.
Big boat in the garden of this one on the right,
Yeah.
out of the water. And all of it is kind of exciting today because it's early spring and it feels like the birds are feeling a bit fruity.
Yep.
And although the leaves aren't back yet fully on the trees, there's bits of green coming out and bits of blossom starting to come through, and it's giving us a sense, I think, of new life and new excitement.
Yeah, such a positive time of year.
I think we can see right here, Georgia, where the erosion is happening on these cliffs.
Yeah. Well, this is a particularly bad bit, obviously, where we've got these huge, the sea is just coming in and eating away bit by bit. But I think it's probably about 6 to 8 months ago that I last walked along this stretch. And I think that there's a good 20 foot at least, like each of these chunks that you can see.
So there was just a smaller gap here,
Yeah, just
and
a
now it's
very
come
small.
right inland.
Yeah.
And you can see where the ground has fallen away. It's very sad, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just when all these little kind of like bays are created that it then affects the next chunk, and then it all just comes in by such a huge amount every year. It's awful.
I think we can see a seal over there at sea.
I think we can. Yeah, we get lots of seals along this stretch of coast. We're really lucky. I'm surprised we haven't seen any yet, actually. They're being quite shy today.
That does look like a head that's bobbing about in the water.
Yeah. Sometimes when I've been swimming in the sea, they'll come right up to you really, really curiously. My friend had a bit of an encounter a while back where both her head came out of the water at the same time as a curious seal opposite her, and they both just screamed in each other's faces.
That's scary. Might have met a selkie.
Yeah. I'm not sure who was more scared.
And now the lighthouse is really coming into view. It's red and white striped and a huge feature in this very flat landscape, and we're sort of staring at it across a ploughed field, and the only other feature in the landscape is the church in the village to the right of it. Have you ever been inside the lighthouse before, Georgia?
I have, once upon a time. I think it was about 15 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And yeah, it's amazing. I'm so excited to go back in it now.
So we've arrived now at the Happisburgh Lighthouse, which is towering above us, and Chris Moore is here to greet us. Hello, Chris.
Hello there.
Thank you for having us. What's the history of this lighthouse? How old is it?
It was built in 1791 because of the amount of wrecks that were occurring out at sea, and it's been operational right up till about 1989 when it was going to be knocked down. But the village sort of said, no way are we losing our lighthouse. So it became independent then. So we're the only independent lighthouse in England and Wales now.
Still working?
Still working lighthouse, yes.
And do you maintain it? Do you look after it?
Yes, I'm the lighthouse attendant, as I'm called now these days. Years ago it would have been the lighthouse keeper.
Right.
I'm
So
attendant.
it's still doing an important job.
It is,
of
yes.
warning
It's
the
still,
ships.
it's still registered as a lighthouse, working lighthouse from Trinity. And Trinity come round and check the lights to make sure that it's still under their rules.
Fantastic. Well, may we go inside?
And you certainly can.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome to the lighthouse.
Amazing. And a very amazing acoustic in here, Georgia.
Yeah.
And then an exhibition here of the history of the lighthouse. But we can see above us the spiral staircase that takes you up to the top.
first thing you'll notice is there's no floors in this lighthouse. Okay, there's only one floor, and that's right at the top in the service room. One floor is the service room, and the next floor up is the actual lamp itself.
So we can see right up to the service
you
floor.
can. 96 steps up to the actual what you're looking at now.
And is that quite unusual?
It's a land-based lighthouse, so it doesn't actually need floors in it because it doesn't need accommodation. The accommodation is to the left and the right in the cottages. So this was built without any floors. It's not unusual, but if you get any rock-based lighthouse, obviously you're going to have floors in those for storage and everything else, because if you're on an island, particularly a very small island, or a rock basically, you've got no storage or nowhere to live.
So you've got Princess Anne on the wall there. We've got a picture of her. Has she been here?
She's our patron.
Right.
Yep, she came about 2 years ago, the last time. The Queen Mother was our patron before that.
And there's a wonderful poster here from the British Railways era, which says East Coast Landmarks, see Britain by train, Happisburgh near Stallen. And then there's a beautiful picture of the red and white lighthouse, which they were using to advertise rail journeys to Norfolk.
Yeah, the lighthouse is correct, but what's around it isn't quite correct. So it was an artist sort of, they knew what they wanted to paint, but they put a lot of other things in.
Are you going to let us go up to the top?
Certainly am, yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing. Let's try it. Georgia, are you keen to go up?
Yes, I am.
And also, this might be a great place to sing a song, mightn't it?
I think so. Sounds great. I'll sing you a song that features this lighthouse.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
So we've reached the first landing, haven't we? I think we're all feeling a little bit out of breath. But there's amazing views, aren't there?
Yeah. You're in the service room at the moment. This is all the wrecks that are out at sea.
Oh wow.
So this is just half of the ones we know about.
Just half?
Just half.
Blimey. I can't count how many are on there. There's 200 odd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just within the range of the light.
And this feels like a really unpleasant question to ask, but you must get asked it all the time. Obviously, with how dreadfully this part of the coast is suffering with erosion, how long do you think until it reaches the lighthouse?
It's a good question. A lot of people do ask that.
Yeah.
Well, we think over the far side there is the church and the manor house and the pub. We think they've got 20 years.
Yeah.
We think with the lighthouse, it's going to be an island.
Do you think?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, we've had a few surveys done, and it
Yeah.
looks as if the water will come in both sides of it. And in the future, you'll be able to kayak into Norwich. But that will be about 150, 200 years.
Yeah. God, it's madness, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You can see what the erosion's been like, just looking out of the window. When we get up to the lab, you'll see more. This one's a bit steeper going up.
Yeah, I'm taking the sideways, the sideways method. Wow.
If you'd like to play your violin inside the lamp, you're more than welcome.
I can play in the lamp.
You can if you want.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to get that opportunity ever again, so yes, please. I've crept up this tiny little ladder of about 5 steps, and I'm now going into directly next to where the bulb or 2 bulbs are, and I'm very gingerly stepping backwards into. It feels like I'm in a miniature version of the Crystal Maze, actually. And I'm going to slowly stand up behind the bulb, and I am inside the lamp at Happisburgh Lighthouse, which is not somewhere I ever saw myself being. It's incredible.
So the main lamp, the one that's used all the time there, that is 500 watts, and that sees out to around 14 to 16 miles out to sea. If that lamp fails, the big one, there's a smaller one by its side, which is 60 watts, and that can see out to sea about 12 miles on a clear night.
It feels amazing being in the lighthouse. I might model a room in my own house like this. No, it's incredible. It's really bizarre. We've got the lamp here, which is flashing, one of two lamps, and then if you look out towards the sea, the shields of the little pod that we're in make everything look a little blurry and like it's upside down, and it feels quite surreal, like you're in a spaceship or something. It's great.
As we went fishing, Happisburgh Light, fishing and trawling all through the night. In this windy old weather, stormy old weather, when the wind blows, we'll all pull together. Up jumped the herring, the queen of the sea. She sang, "Oh skipper, you'll not catch me." Then up jumped the mackerel with spots on her back. She sang, "Oh skipper, you'll lose your track." In this windy old weather, stormy old weather, when the wind blows, we'll all pull together. Up jumped the crab with the great claws. She sang, "Oh skipper, you'll run her ashore." Then up jumped the sprat, the smallest of all. She sang, "Oh skipper, you'll lose your trawl." In this windy old weather, stormy old weather, when the wind blows, we'll all pull together. Then up jumped the whiting with silvery eyes. "You've not gone long on the sea for to ride." In this windy old weather, stormy old weather, when the wind blows, we'll all pull together. Up spoke the skipper, the saying is right. Haul up our trawl and we'll go home tonight. In this windy old weather, stormy old weather, when the wind blows, we'll all pull together.
What an amazing climax to our walk together on this beautiful day. Georgia, thank you for sharing your songs and sharing your stories with us on Folk on Foot.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure. Cheers.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Folk on Foot as much as we enjoyed making it. There are over 60 episodes of Folk on Foot for you to explore, featuring amazing artists like Eliza Carthy, Johnny Flynn, The Unthanks, Corrine Polwood, Chris Drever, Sandra Kerr, Catherine Tickell, and many, many more. So please do explore our back catalogue. And if you like what we do, we really need your support to keep going. You can become a member and get great rewards, or you can simply buy us a coffee. To do either, and to sign up for our ad-free version, just go to folkonfoot.com/support-us. Every penny we get goes back into making more episodes, so please do support us if you can.